Hey guys, welcome to our playthrough of Autopsy Simulator. This is the closed beta demo that Woodland Games put out today, December 14th. It's essentially just, I guess, a small test pool for figuring out what bugs are still in the demo, etc. I did a stream on Twitch already, which you can go find it at twitch.tv/sleepy_ghost1. But this is going to be a more controlled environment. What I want to accomplish here is to do a full playthrough and gather enough feedback for Woodland Games so that they can, you know, check it out if they're interested and actually see like if any bugs pop up in action, etc. So besides that though, I just really liked the demo. I played it once already. I really liked it, and so I want to give it another try and see how that turns out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, Autopsy Simulator. Let's pump up the volume a little bit. And now settings. Let's go ahead and fix the settings really quick. Settings. We will have censorship enabled. We don't want to get blocked. We're going to pump up the volume a little bit more. That should be good. I don't think we need to tweak anything else. We go back. There we go. Okay, so that should do it. We're going to go ahead and hit new game and let's see how this goes.
I would like to ask him to
No, do not call me anymore. It's none of my business.
Temper. Okay, cool. So,
How am I supposed to record a lecture for the students now? Feeling completely broken.
Broken from what?
It's for my guests, but they seem to never drink or say anything when they visit me.
Another person gone missing. Is there a serial kidnapper in Petersville? The New Orleans Police Department has received another missing persons report from an unidentified female, making it third this month. Is it just coincidence or a meticulously crafted scheme? Lore. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I forgot about this. So there's, I mean, technically we could read it if we wanted to. Oh, there we go. Local authorities at the moment have little to say about the ongoing investigation. The New Orleans PD spokesman John Buchanan said, "We decided not to disclose any additional information on the disappearance for the time being." Does this mean a suspect has already been identified? Unsurprisingly, the public seems to demand details about the progress of the case, regardless. It has been confirmed that all of the abducted women were last seen in the vicinities of local clubs or pubs. According to the police, the abductions happened on Friday night. If you have additional information on the case you would like to share, please contact our editorial staff at blah. So, women disappearing.
Don't take my pills.
Oh, pills. Stop that. What is that sound? Why is this moving? Okay. Yeah, I am going nuts. Note. How to break out of this vicious cycle. Okay. Sounds like there's some sort of like mental illness that we are facing right now. Pills and everything else. I didn't dig much into the lore the first time I played this, so this is perfect. We'll give it another go with the lore.
Where are my meds?
Right. No reflection. Vampire Simulator.
All right. Now we can go get the camera.
Got it.
This for sure is not the storage room.
Whatever. Love, Alice. I'll get you. Right, there's like notes scattered all over. Horse figure. What is this? Not much about it. Okay. TV.
I borrowed it from Stephen. Since Alice died, Stephen is the only person I trust.
Alice. 1987. Are you... Can I pop that in there? No. Okay. Tickets. So we are on 1991. Aerosmith. That's kind of cool. I like that. Just a reminder, I'm seeing you on Friday. D. Cryptic. Who's D? Cigarette box. Yes, I know. We smoke. Oh, here we go. Another one. Hi, this is Kate Brooks, a reporter for the New Orleans Weekly. I couldn't find you at home. You're not here. I'm beginning to suspect you're avoiding me, Mr. Handman. Anyways, as you know, we'd like to write a piece commemorating your wife's achievements. We'd be delighted to talk to you about it. Along with this note, I will also leave you my card. Let me call you this evening, and I hope to see you at home or at the office. Regards, Kate Brooks. That's probably a reason why he doesn't want to talk. I still don't understand, why are these things moving? It definitely seems to be something to do with the fan, but okay, we're gonna go ahead and forget about that.
Medical school diploma. I'm glad it's hanging here, because I can barely remember that time anyway.
Drunk. Oh, what's this? Hammond, don't you dare leaving before clocking in. A. Burrows. Don't you dare leaving before clocking in. Okay.
Oh, this place is starting to look like a garbage dump, rather than a storage room. Well, I hope I won't forget to press the record button this time.
I guess it's happened before. Wet paint.
Let's move on straight to our deceased.
Let's do that.
I'm wondering how the new tripod is going to work.
I didn't realize there were like multiple ways in which a tripod could work.
Just frame it properly and... Oh, this should be fine.
That's a fine angle, sir. Fine
November
angle.
21st, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m. Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. The autopsy is conducted by Jack Handman. Ladies and gentlemen, it is always worth having a look at the files before conducting the autopsy. That is where we can find all kinds of clues to what could have potentially happened to the deceased. Well, who do we have here today? Mention the rookie mistakes. Oh yeah, that's right. That's my warrant to sensify you for a few issues. First, due to the fact that in the process of revealing and securing forensic traces, interference that changes the primary condition happens. The photographic documentation plays a huge role in the entire process of examination. Then, the body needs to be placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathomorphologist stands on the left-hand side of the body. Third, very rarely but still, the cause of death remains unknown if all the tests come out negative. That's the so-called white autopsy. Now remember that it can also happen.
I didn't know that. They stand to the left of the body? To the left of the right side. Oh, weird.
Found on the outskirts of a parking lot near a gas station, where he often begged and insistently offered to clean the windows of cars that were leaving the station. The body was found in a dry field drain. A frequent cause of dramatic deaths among the elderly is the various types of accidents, including traffic accidents or falling down the stairs. The body was spotted by a station worker during the morning shift. At first, he thought that someone had thrown rain boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize a human body laying on its back. Signs of libation could be found around the dead body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket.
Interesting. They're citing some scientific data, and I wonder how much of it is actually accurate.
The deceased is locally known as Old Toby, homeless and unemployed for at least a couple years. He had gotten into fights and had been bullied by the problematic youth of the town. He was that type of a man who never kept up alcohol, which caused him to be homeless. As a young man working in a suburban coal mine most of his life, he already abused alcohol, and as the time went by, he'd fall into addiction more. That's interesting. Although alcohol poisoning as a sole cause of death among the elderly people is relatively rare, different levels of alcohol poisoning happen among 1 in 4 deaths of elderly people, which may suggest that alcohol abuse is a significant issue in this age group. What is important to note, even though alcohol poisoning does not cause death, it does increase the risk of accidents and their following injuries.
Which sounds like it was definitely the case in this instance. Just where, like, they're saying they found him like in a ditch. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Find and put the gloves on.
Oh, the damn gloves. Now we can get to work. We're going to need the camera. It should be here somewhere.
Find the camera. Okay.
Must have left it in one of the drawers.
Is that them? Wait, what is... Why is that dude smiling so creepily? Note. Login admin 1, password admin... Or admin and password admin 1. Super safe, guys. Super safe.
I don't know how it could have worked without this gadget before.
Alright. So, I don't like that image. It's a cursed image by now. Yo, it looks terrible. Okay, it looks terrible. Anyway. There it is.
Let's follow the procedure and prepare photo documentation. We must follow the top-down rule. Luckily, we don't have to take pictures of the clothes this time. We are only focusing on the body. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame. Before we start searching for traces on the deceased's body, we have to take a main picture that goes in the files.
Okay. Top-down view, so I'm assuming this is top-down view. Or is that, would this work? No. It has to be from here. Okay.
Voila. Now we move on to the next step. Trace search.
Brilliant.
We're going to need better zoom here.
Oh, right.
We're going to need better zoom here. And that's perfect.
That's the one. Scar.
People affected by homelessness most often die from accidents, alcohol abuse, or they freeze to death. Unfortunately, both suicide and homicide are also quite common.
I can see the suicide part too. Yo. My dude. Yeesh. Poor guy. Okay, what are we missing? We're missing something. We need 2 more.
Well, you don't have to stand close to be able to smell a strong odor of alcohol and other discharges. There's nothing left to say. Old Toby didn't spare himself.
Aw. Toby. Kind of disorienting to move with the camera like that. Oh, here we go. Begin the autopsy.
While taking the photos, some entries that could be potentially lethal caught my attention. Let's take a closer look using the magnifying glass.
hematoma, frostbite, disease, body burn, skin abrasion. Cool beans. Begin. All right. Take the magnifier from the tool wheel. So that's okay.
By the look of his feet, I assume Toby must have worn uncomfortable and dinky shoes for quite a while. However,
dinky shoe.
Such wounds have nothing to do with his death.
Okay, so we don't worry about that.
There are frostbite marks all over the deceased's body. Although they are most visible on the tips of his fingers, they can be recognized by the very specific color of the skin. However, the hands tell us much more.
True. Oh.
An old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Nevertheless, it has nothing to do with the potential cause of death.
Too old. Too old is my guess.
That's something interesting. While making photographic documentation, ecchymosis can be seen on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. We'll come back later to see if everything is alright with the brain. What do we have here?
Okay, so here we go. Everything that we just noted, we're gonna write down. Cool. So, I kind of appreciate the fact that they're doing a lot of technical speech for autopsies. At least that's what I'm imagining. I've never really been to one. But I like that they're grounding this in reality. It feels authentic, right? It feels like you're literally performing an actual autopsy, which is great. It's good for immersion, especially when the moment to start terrorizing the player comes. It's a lot easier to scare someone if they feel at ease at the beginning and like grounded in reality. It's good to switch it up like that.
Yeah, the odor can be the result of alcohol intoxication. The condition of the head tells us it could have been a fatal accident. It could be freezing to death. By the look of his feet, I assume Toby must have worn uncomfortable and dinky shoes for quite a while. However, an old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Nevertheless, it has nothing to do with the potential cause of death.
Right.
At this
So
point,
we have clues.
that's all I can do based on all traces on the body of the deceased. The inside should tell me much more. Let's move back to the body.
Okay. Okay.
Now let's check the level of muscle tension. This will allow us to establish time of death. Let's raise the deceased's hand.
For rigor mortis. Rigor mortis? Mortis? Yeah. No.
And then let go. The stronger the rigor mortis gets, the greater the resistance from the muscles will be. As you can see, the hand falls loose. The rigor mortis has already subsided. We can then assume that the time of death stated in the files is correct.
It's one of the things I didn't know, actually. I thought rigor mortis actually came in way later in the time of death, not so soon. So this seems to be indicating the opposite. The more you know.
Let's grab a scalpel.
All right, scalpel.
You can boldly cut with the scalpel. It won't hurt him no more. We always start with the neck and move down towards the sixth next. You separate the skin and prepare to remove the ribs. The adipose tissue has an intense yellow hue. As you probably already guessed, we're going to need the scissors.
The adipose tissue, which, if I recall correctly, it's like the fatty tissue. Scissors.
After removing both cartilage and bone tissues, we are actually interested in two things that you can see at the very first glance. The lack of organ congestion means that, although the deceased was cold, hypothermia wasn't the cause of death.
Yeah, they're taking the word simulation very seriously here. Magnifier, right. Okay. Filling up those bars, are we?
We can eliminate freezing as the cause of death.
Why? Take out the lungs. Okay, so let's go for the lungs. Possible death causes: alcohol poisoning, fatal fall, freezing. So freezing is
the
discarded.
Deceased smoked like a chimney. Let's take a closer look.
Let me find you.
We see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death.
Right.
Now we
Cool.
need to go grab the syringe. At this point, we put the bladder and draw about 10 milliliters of fluid.
What was that?
We move on to collecting blood from the heart. 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. We also collect the fluid from the deceased to determine the level of alcohol concentration in the vitreous humor.
Okay.
Keep in mind that you have to set the right time and speed on both knobs before running the centrifuge. Our samples
that's
may break
loud.
into pieces due to the centrifugal force if
That's
we set
violent.
the wrong coordinates. I myself am terrible with numbers because I suffer from dyscalculia, which is why I always keep the appropriate coordinates at hand.
Dyscalculia. What is that? Is that like dyslexia for numbers? I don't know. Let's figure out. Time 40 minutes, speed 75%. Roger that. We got this. $40 minutes. Yes, 40 minutes. And what was it? 75? Yeah. Okay. Start. Easy spin.
Damn it. If something goes to shit, it's all the way. That's probably the blown fuses again. Hold up. I must have had a flashlight somewhere.
Yeah, this is way worse with a flashlight. I thought this is first aid, but I thought it was like a message written in blood. Thank you, brain, for fucking with me. Okay, right. What does that say? Oh, I guess I can't look at it right now. No. Wow, what is that down there? Ugh. Stop that.
I was hoping to clock out early today. What was that?
Fuck. What the hell is that?
Where did it go?
Ugh. Where did it go? What the fuck was it? I didn't even see anything. Sounded like a cat.
Yeah, it's definitely the fuses. Right goes first, left next. Voila.
And just like that, Lola's gone. Wrong. Okay. Where'd my flashlight go?
Where's that unbearable noise coming from?
Back to the wall. Back to the wall. When in video games, back to the wall. When in horror video games, back to the wall.
That's strange. I'm pretty sure I closed the window. Oh
Fairly
shit.
certain we
It's
did.
only Thursday.
Bad news, guys. It's only Thursday. Yowza. Okay.
The homeless probably misses me already.
Oh, sure. He gone. Never mind. He's still there. What is that? It's like getting louder and louder. Oh, man.
Where were we?
That was
Oh, yeah,
unnerving.
the blood alcohol concentration. All right, let's see what we've got here. Well, everything is telling us that the BAC, blood alcohol concentration, is high. That's the smell we're getting from the deceased. Still, to be 100% sure, I have to send the samples to the lab. Unfortunately, I don't have the equipment to conduct a detailed analysis here.
I see. Take out the stomach and examine it.
Now let's take a closer look at the stomach. As expected, the stomach has no major external damage. In this case, further inspection is no use. We must cut him open.
Right. Bread cutting simulator. Alright, we got this. Yo, I don't think I would make a good surgeon. My pulse is not fast or steady enough. Although I guess it doesn't really matter if they're dead. Yikes. Alright.
That's interesting. In addition to a large amount of gas and liquid, the stomach also contains small amounts of yellow, grayish food content resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or some of the bulk of his stomach had found a way out.
Interesting. So maybe he threw up? Maybe he threw up when he died. Also,
it couldn't have been suffocation, could it? Now we need to focus on the cardiovascular system, especially the heart. We take the organ and look it up and down, carefully.
Alright, sounds good. Let's do that. I am a pro.
At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that have contributed to our Toby's death. Well, once we've got the body ticked off, we can move on to the head.
Roger that. I see what you're saying.
Let's take the autopsy saw to cut through the skull to cleave it in two. Remember, the skull, not the saw.
What? Why would you cut the saw?
Anyway, we will start dissecting the brain from the occipital lobe. In this way, the brain's dura mater is slowly revealing itself.
Pro cutter. Find the angle, find the angle. Oh, wait, found it.
After the basic examination, we can see that the cerebral gyri in both brain hemispheres are symmetric, and the bumps between them are clear. So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the organ we're examining. Let's check its transection. Moving on to the incision. Holding a knife with a long, narrow blade in your dominant hand, cut the cranial nerves on both sides, pulling the brain towards you.
Interesting. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I'll be using an actual wood cutting board to cut organs. Just from a hygiene perspective, it doesn't sound very hygienic because wood tends to retain a lot of like the liquids that fall into it. I don't know, that's weird. Kind of gross. All right, no, stop dropping the knife. Stop dropping the knife. No, stop dropping it.
Remember, just one small fragment examined under the magnifying glass is enough to dispel or confirm our doubts. We then take the fragment of the brain to the tray and, literally and figuratively, go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Just as I initially suspected, we can rule the fatal accident out as well.
Okay, so far it's living up to its name. Okay, cool. Take out the trachea and examine it. There we go.
Same as we did with the stomach. External inspection didn't tell us anything. Now the scalpel comes into play. While cutting a small organ, such as the trachea, we must perform a precise incision. To be able to cut with the... Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got it.
What is that?
Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it is safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death. That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
I feel like I kind of called it.
And now it's all clear. The death was caused by suffocation.
Okay, cause of death was drowning. Cause of asphyxiation or drowning was the withdrawal of stomach contents to the trachea and respiratory tract flooding. Ugh. Signature from Country Medical Examiner. What do we put here, guys? Hello, YouTube. No, okay. Sleepy. Whoop. Whoop. Wow, cannot sign my name. 1.
It went quite smoothly today. I'm about to get off.
I wonder how official that is. Pretty sure I could sign like that, right? All right. Close the chest. Let's do it. Put the flaps back in.
In order to bring the chest of our deceased back to its initial state, at least to a small extent, we must take the needle in our hand. We sewed the deceased using the baseball stitch technique. This stitching method is very strong and quick to do.
Phone.
I should probably get to that. I'm coming. This is Dr. Jack Hanman. Please leave a message.
Good evening. How are you? How are you?
Scared?
How are you?
What the f is that supposed to be? I'll finish the stitching and I'm getting the fuck out of here.
That's a smart doctor right there. Boy, that's why you went to medical school, wasn't it? Yeah, I knew it.
What the fuck?
Eh. What the fuck? Okay, so it's good. I will be filling out that survey. Make sure that we leave some solid feedback. But let's talk about it. That was definitely interesting. So I'm curious about one thing. It definitely feels like a relatively polished experience. I see it as two things. I see it as a horror game that has a very fun, I guess, puzzle, I guess like puzzle mechanics, right? Even though you get instructions on a lot of stuff, but like the autopsy mechanics were solid. They're fun for what they are, really. So that's cool. I like that it is very scientific and that it does make you feel immersed when you're dealing with the autopsy matters. That's pretty cool. It's well done. It feels realistic, which again, I think it's a very big plus for these types of games whenever they want to make an impact. When it comes to the tension and release cycle, which is like a staple in horror games, you got to have your moments of tension, and then you got to have your moments of release of that tension so that you can build an effective crescendo essentially through the arcs of the story, and take it to its conclusion. So it feels like they're doing that right. As far as the actual horror, I think the little bits that were there were good. I don't want to, I'm hoping that they go more towards the later type of horror that they did rather than the jump scary type of horror with like the lights off and all that. And not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's overdone. I feel like if you're gonna do, if you're gonna make a horror game and you want to make it successful, you have to lean almost a little more on the psychological aspect of it rather than on the typical glitchy, not glitchy, like, you know, campy horror of like jump scares, like I said. So the later part when the phone rings and then the girl, you know, leaves the message, that was super creepy. Like that legitimately caught me very off guard, and it was still technically a sort of jump scare just because like she yells in the end. But that being said, it was well done, and I think it was a lot more like it had a lot more of a psychological impact than it did the jump scary part. So I think if they can stick with that type of horror, they will do really well on that side. As far as the gameplay mechanics, I think they're fun. Nothing really revolutionary or out of the like super pushing the science or the limits of design. But still, it was fun. It was entertaining, and again, I felt like I was literally participating in an actual autopsy, which is really, it could be hard to pull off the realism of it. So kudos on that side. One very big thing for me that I don't typically see well done on a lot of indie games, but it is such an important part of the horror genre: audio design. Having the doctor, so the doctor is supposed to be giving a lecture to his students, right? So he's recording this autopsy, so that in like he's talking to the camera and he's doing all these normal things that a doctor would do when they're talking to themselves, recording, trying to explain something. But I did feel like the voice was too out of place. It was almost like I was listening to a very loud voice inside my head, and then that kind of takes me out of the experience, because it's not well mixed within the environment itself. So I know it's a demo, it's a beta. There's a lot of time to polish, I hope. But that specific thing kind of like, I think that's kind of what bothered me the most, because that in contrast with the other audio design little quirks that they had, everything else seemed to be done well. It was done well. Sounds for the autopsy were a little it felt like they were a little too fake. I think I would almost want like more squishiness. I don't know if that makes sense. Like the skin cutting open has a very distinct sound. I want more realism in those details, because when you craft an experience that's based on realism, like they're trying to do here with the autopsies, those little details can actually make or break the experience. If the details are good and the sounds are accurate and you feel the things that you're doing via the audio, then that makes the realism all the better, which then sets you up for a much better scare later down the road, because it's almost like you're listening to mundane things, but at the same time everything is so crisp and clear and it's well done that it's keeping you immersed, and then boom, somehow the tension cycle starts, and it's just like the switch to that aspect. The audio just basically can carry you the entire way almost. Visuals are important, gameplay mechanics are important, the design overall is important, but what you really want is good audio design that carries you through. I felt like at some points the constant music on the background, or when there was music in the background, it feels like a little too much. It feels like they're putting it right on your face and saying, here, be scared because this music is scary. And that's fine, but it's almost like a little too much exposition. It's like slapping someone in the face with what they should be feeling, right? It's not subtle, and you definitely want subtlety when it comes to audio. Disable the music, maybe like take the music away, allow us to control it even better. So earlier when I streamed this, one of my viewers actually had a really good idea. It was like, put the music in the radio, right? The radio that's in the room, and allow the player to control it. So, you can probably change the music to like a news station or something like that. Because the story kind of ties into a murder mystery with the missing people and whatnot, the stuff that comes from the radio could actually be giving you clues about the lore of the story. And it's almost like if it's on the background, you may catch it, you may not, but it's kind of cool to have it as a detail, right? So that would be something really nice for them to do. You don't have to have the music in your ear constantly like threatening you that something scary is happening or that the mood is scary. The way that they built that room, and just something that comes natively with morgues and autopsy rooms, I guess, is just tension. Like you're scared just being there because it's a very, threatening place. It's not only do you have like many tools that are used on bodies, but like just the pure notion of being in a place where dead people are, dissected people are. So that in and of itself, you don't really need to enhance that a lot more with constantly having loud scary music. So maybe ditch that, because that's just kind of breaks the mood. On top of that, if you ditch it and then you just have silence, you could do something with more audio cues, such as you're performing the autopsy, right? Because you're locked in this view of where you're doing the paperwork and you're trying to find out the causes of death. In those moments, maybe break up the silence with a scatter tool falling and you don't know why it fell or where it came from, or maybe like the phone ringing again and then stopping. Just put natural sounds that would normally be used in the environment, but use them in a clever way when they're not supposed to be used. It's almost like it's a little bit counterintuitive, but if you use them in a smart way, if you use sound cues like that in a smart way, you can actually build a lot of tension that can then carry you even better towards that moment of horror that you're really like waiting for, right? So again, there's a couple of things that they can do on that side. And audio for me, it's like a big thing, because if a game could have really bad graphics, which this game does not have, by the way. This game is a good looking game. It's just, it does feel a little bit dated when it comes to the actual organs and whatnot. But the visuals are for the most part okay. But a game could have horrible graphics. It could be, you know, like crappy on that area. But if they have good sound design, that is way more important, because the audio is something that is completely underrated when it comes to horror games, but it's so helpful in creating an immersive experience. So that would be my first feedback for the game, really, is make sure that you're doing a good mix for your audio. The professor's voice shouldn't be so loud and inside your head. If he's talking to the camera trying to give a lecture, mix that voice a little bit more with the environment, because oddly enough, that actually mattered to me a lot. When the doctor's voice wasn't coming in as if it was inside the room, I felt completely taken out of the experience. And especially the doctor talks a lot, right? So you want to have that dialogue properly mixed in. You want to have like, give that little bit of spatial echo and make sure that it feels situated inside the room, not just inside your head, if the doctor is speaking out loud. For every other instance, it's fine to have it, you know, a little bit more muted and more inside, but when you're talking out loud, you want to have that echo that you can hear, and almost like 3D audio, right? So that's a big part of some of the feedback that I'm gonna be leaving. Their horror, again, I'm hoping that they lean more on the psychological aspect of it. I think they're gonna have a really cool thing with the story where there's multiple facets to it, right? There's the murders that are apparently happening, or the disappearances, I should say, and then there is the doctor's own struggles that he seemed to be having. So those weird phone calls that he was getting at the beginning, and his pills that he takes, and the alcohol that seems to be there. So I think the doctor is going to have its own struggles that he's going to have to work through even better. That I actually think that like that seems interesting on its own. The struggles that he undergoes because of the pills that he's taking. I have a feeling that they're going to relate that to the supernatural aspects of the game. And then you have the background story that kind of overlays with the kidnappings and whatnot. So it seems like they're layering those things correctly, and it's going to be super interesting to watch, if nothing else, for the resolution of those story points. Kudos on that. I think they're doing great. Again, visuals are good. Just polish your audio. The audio still feels like it's not quite there yet. Gameplay mechanics, I don't think they're going to have to rely a lot on making those mechanics fun. I think they're going to be a means to an end, which is to carry you through the low tension sections, you know, the release sections, the safe areas, so to speak, in the story. They're going to carry you from one of those segments, then horror, and then to the next segment. That's fine. They don't need to be super creative with that stuff, even though right now it does feel like it's fun and it's engaging and entertaining. So I'm not worried about that side. Just for the horror part of it, please, 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 Woodland Games, please lean heavy on the psychological aspect. I don't know if you have time to change any of this stuff. I'm assuming that you still have time to do audio design and mixing. So if nothing else, just focus your time on that in bug fixing. I did find a few bugs the first time when I played this game. I actually got soft locked because I somehow was able to first open up the brain instead of checking the stomach first. And then when I put the brain in the cutting board, it never disappeared. Then I went to move the brain or the stomach into the board, and I just couldn't cut it because the brain was there. Anyway, there's minor and major bugs that are in there still, but for the most part, I mean, obviously the experience is playable from beginning to end. So yes, I think those will be my major points. Focus on your audio design. Make sure that you focus on your psychological horror. You already have a really good thing going, so don't overcomplicate it. Just go with what you guys have, polish it, make it really impactful in the moments that count. That's all we need. And as always, you guys did a wonderful job. I appreciate the game. I've been waiting for this for the longest time, and I am glad to be part of the beta, the closed beta. I cannot wait to see what the rest of the gaming community says once you guys go live. I believe it's in February that you're releasing the demo to everyone on Steam. I cannot wait to see what people say. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna have a kick-ass title here. You already do from what I'm seeing. Just implement as much feedback as you can from the community. You guys will be a-okay. Anyway, that's I think that's gonna be it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, you can go ahead and drop me a line in the comment section below. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys very soon. Cheers.